Okay, so yesterday was another exciting day where I didn't bring the video camera at all, so this is a little bit of like a synopsis after the fact. And I happened to write it all down so I can remember all the things that I did so I can talk about it. So, yesterday I did the breakfast thing, and then I decided to go and jump on the bus to go to one of the other towns on this island. And so I'm in a place called Patong on an island called Koh Phuket. And the capital, quote unquote, is this place called Phuket Town. And it's not anything really like capital-ish, it's just like a bigger city. And they have these buses. They aren't really like buses per se, they're kind of just like trucks or flatbed trucks that have like benches kind of thrown in the back of them that run through that town, right? So because of the lobbyist group of like the tuk-tuks, the taxi drivers, they're trying not to use the word mafia, the lobbyists. The buses are kind of infrequent, and they don't go very late into the day, and you actually have to go through that town to go anywhere else. So all the beaches are in a circle around this island, but you have to go to Phuket Town to go to each of these individual towns. And all I did was just go to that town, actually. It's pretty inexpensive compared to, say, taking like the taxi, so it was like less than $1. And then like wander around that town for a while. It's got some interesting architecture. It's like a kind of an influence of like some European stuff in there that's kind of cool. Wandered around for a while. Didn't bring a map like at all, so I ended up kind of getting like completely lost and magically found my way back to like the bus station to come back somehow. I made a special effort to try some like cool like seafood that I'm never gonna get a chance to like try at home. And so there's a bunch of different fish that they have here. And so yesterday I had this like curry crab, which was actually pretty cool because I don't really get to like eat crab very often. There's a lot of seafood I don't really even know that well. Like, so more squid's actually kind of on like the menu for me because like that's just something I don't really. I don't know much about squid. Like, you know, squid's kind of one of these things that I have is like this deep fried calamari stuff once in a while. The crab dish was kind of cool, right? So they made like a stir fry out of it with the crab legs. They still have like the meat inside them, but the actual body of the crab, they kind of hollow that out, but they still sort of present it as such, so it kind of looks like there's a crab sort of lording over my dish. I have some pictures of it with like the regular camera, so eventually that'll end up on Facebook or some kind of thing. So the big thing, one of the big things I did yesterday is I went to a cabaret that they have here in Phuket. That's kind of similar to the one that I went to in Bangkok, and so like it's the Phuket Simon Cabaret, and it's one of these things very similar to the one that I went to. It's like a combination of different like musical acts with smaller ones and breaking it up to sort of do like set changes. And it's kind of fun to go and watch that because like the musical numbers are usually pretty impressive, and you spend your time trying to figure out like, you know, are these women like real women or are they like the lady boys, which is always kind of fun. And when I went and bought my ticket, they sat me down like really close to the front. So immediately when I sit down, I'm thinking to myself, if there's like an audience participation kind of thing, like I'm in like prime seats to like do that. And I don't want to do that. Like I don't want to get like thrown into the show or I don't know. Like so a couple of other sort of like older gentlemen kind of sit down like right in the front near me. So I'm thinking to myself like, all right, well they usually like to kind of like pick on like the older, richer white guys like a little bit more. So I thought maybe like I was safe, but they had this one like really obvious man in drag about to do like a rendition of Barbie Girl with really, really bad teeth that runs out and like kisses a few different like men. So it gets like this guy over here first, and then it's got like a big red like lipstick as this bad stage makeup, and then gets that guy, and then kind of comes over and looks at me, and I'm like, all right, well there's no like getting away from it, so I kind of do like one of these because I know it's coming, and then I end up getting like 6 kisses like all the way around. And everybody gets like this big like round of laughter out of it, and like immediately afterwards like somebody runs up to you with like a little like moist towelette to like clean off his ties are big on cleanliness. And like I spent for real like the whole rest of the show like wiping this stuff off, like just more and more red is coming off of this thing. So that dude really got me good. It was a good show. I'd recommend checking it out. And then after that, I wandered over to the Muay Thai stadium, and I've been trying to see some Muay Thai pretty much since I got here, and I keep sort of like not materializing because I keep going to do something else or whatever. And it was probably one of the more expensive things that I've done since I've been here. It was equivalent to about $60, and there must have been about 8 different fights or 9 different fights. And they start off with like the really young kids, so like 2 kids that are maybe, I'm gonna say about 10ish, and it's like super skilled. Like these kids have obviously been doing it for like a long time. Their parents like shoved them into it like the second they were even able to do it, I guess. Like it's one of these things that I think is actually taught in grade school here to some degree. So these kids kind of like go at it, and they took the fight to the enemy, and it was pretty good, impressive. And so then they move up to some kids that are a little bit older, so kind of like teenagers, and then maybe 18-year-olds, and then it's kind of like the main fight cards. And so it's a mixture of like mostly Thais, but a couple of like foreigners that have come to learn some Muay Thai. So there was at least one guy from Britain, and a couple Americans, and a Brazilian guy. The Brazilian guy actually was really good. That was a hell of a fight. There was one match of a couple of women, which was cool to see, because and they just dig on tough gals, and that was pretty cool. Like, so this was my first chance to actually like watching some Muay Thai. Like Muay Thai, when you see a couple people that actually know how to do Muay Thai like properly, it's actually really beautiful. Like it's really graceful. As opposed to say like boxing. Boxing's cool too, but like boxing is just sort of like the standard 4 punches. So like the jab, the cross, the hook, and the uppercut. Muay Thai, they have all this extra stuff that they can do because they're not just using like your fists. You're contacting with your fists, your elbows, your knees, and your feet, and technically speaking your head, but I don't think they really do that in the sport version of it. It's quite fun to watch. I mean, like if you see someone that's like a really solid like kickboxer side of it, like usually their kicks, like it's they do some really impressive, really graceful things, and it's a really beautiful movement style, let's put it that way. Reinvigorated me the thought that maybe one would actually want to go and learn to do such a thing. And I'm not usually, like I've done like a little bit of martial arts kind of stuff, but I really don't like getting punched in the face. But that would make me kind of appreciate, willing to kind of go through the trouble to get punched in the face, I think.